All right, guys, how's it going? It is the investing guy here, and today we have Messi here. He's a VGX hero, awesome guy. So I want to give big thanks for him for jumping on the stream today. If you guys have any questions, make sure that you drop them down below because we are going to be answering questions. So if you guys have any questions, just drop them down below, and we can answer those. So I'm going to go ahead and bring Messi in here. We kind of have a little outline of what this is going to look like. But again, it also depends on the questions that you guys ask. So we do welcome questions. We want to answer your guys' questions, anything that you guys might be thinking, stuff like that. Just ask them and we'll try our best to answer them. Okay. So let me go ahead and bring Messi in here. Messi, how's it going, man?
What's up, man? How's it going? Excited to be here. Excited
How
to
you doing?
talk about something that I'm really comfortable and confident in as far as compliance and regulation goes when it comes to financial services. Um, so yeah, I'm ready to get this going.
Yeah, I mean, I ran into your thread on Twitter, and that's where I was like, man, I really like what you had to say. So yeah, I definitely wanted to bring you on here so that people could hopefully hear what you have to say and kind of go into a little bit more depth and maybe answer some questions that people might have. So yeah, again, if you guys have any questions, drop them in the comments and we'll try our best to answer them. But what do you think, Messi? Let's go ahead and begin kind of with the Voyager season desist. So you kind of mentioned that this is not coming out of nowhere, right? This is something that there was already talked about between Voyager and the government and the state.
Yeah, so I think the state of New Jersey and the state of Alabama currently are the ones that are more vocal about it, but there are a total of 6 to 7 states that kind of have the same mindset when these crypto exchanges, or in Voyager's case, a crypto broker, is participating in these interest paying programs. Um, and so um, there has been discussions, and in the cease and desist order, which I was able to find off the NewJersey.gov website, um, you can kind of read a little bit of the back and forth that New Jersey and Voyager has had since, well, one of the dates was from August of 2021. So it's not something that just happened now and it was out of nowhere where New Jersey was like, okay, we're just going to slam this exchange with the cease and desist order. My thinking um, is basically the states have kind of been doing their research for the last couple of um, months or years on different exchanges or entities that are providing these crypto services, mainly focused on the ones that pay the interest or the earn programs. Um, and they're kind of just making a list from like the biggest players and cracking down and working down the list. So we saw some of these um, similar actions taken against Coinbase, against BlockFi. Um, Celsius was another one, and in addition, they've mentioned that Gemini is on that list. I forget what other one, but even yesterday was kind of interesting. Binance.us sent out emails to their users who were participating in their staking program, which wasn't even that appealing or attractive in my opinion. They had like 4 tokens that they were offering, and it was, I think at most it was like 2 to 4%,
It was
and they
horrible. Yeah, I remember seeing it, and it wasn't good at all. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna. I remember kind of looking into it and the whole Binance US, and I didn't like the interest that they had at all. But yeah,
yeah, so they actually sent out a letter saying that they're no longer going to be offering um, those staking services anymore, and they put a little spiel there saying it's in order to provide better services in the future, etc. But I think they're just trying to you know keep their user base committed to their platform, because it's really interesting how the states are coming after um, these exchanges. And I think we'll touch base as to why I feel they are doing that. You know, once we pull up the tweet that you were referencing, and we can kind of dissect a little bit um, that at a future time. But Um,
Yeah. I mean, what do you think? So like, ultimately, what is this cease and desist? Like, what does it mean for Voyager when they get a cease and desist? Because I feel like I went last video that I posted, and I probably should have gone a little bit more in depth. But I got some comment, and someone was like, "Should I take all the money that I have in Voyager? Do I take it out? Do I liquidate everything? Do I take all my money out there and go back to traditional banking? Like, is it that big of a deal for people to be thinking this, to for these thoughts for them to be going through their head? What do you think?
yeah, so definitely going to preface anything else that I'm going to say as this isn't, financial advice.
Not financial
Uh,
advice.
yeah, not financial advice, and this is also not legal advice. I am not an attorney, and I don't pretend to be. I'm just an individual who's been actively working. It's my day job in the compliance and regulatory space for almost 10 years now. In October, it'll be 10 years. And the company or two companies that I've worked for in those 10 years have been licensed in 50 states. So I've been able to communicate, participate, and go through growing pains as well with these state regulators. Um, you know, and so I'm familiar with with the majority of them, based on the kind of activities that we did. But to answer your question, it definitely depends on your personal risk appetite of how you want to um, handle your money. But it's really important that once these like scary regulations and limitations come out, that you do your research, which is why I always like to pull up the cease and desist order, because they're pretty thorough and well written out to give you the real picture of what's going on. Um, and that's and that the main point that I'll probably touch on at the end, because we'll probably try to figure out, well, what's the most likely outcome out of this situation. um I personally wouldn't be removing um my holdings out of VGX, or trying to sell or trying to get out of VGX as quickly as possible, um based on case law, which is basically what's happened in the past with uh like Nexo and BlockFi. um you kind of have that um, grandfathered in status in keeping the interest of the current holdings you have. Now, I don't know if the state or Voyager is going to be required to backtrack anything moving from here on forward. The cease and desist order, I think, takes effect at the end of April. So that's probably something that will be interesting to see if they'll require Voyager to backtrack anything. So like you can have somebody else who has the opposite mindset. Like, I'm going to try to buy as much as I can now before they maybe put a pause on interest payments for any new accounts or any new holdings that come in after a certain date.
Yeah.
Um, so it definitely depends on your risk appetite, but um, you know, giving giving the communications that the state provides from their official websites is probably something that you want to read before you make a decision.
Yeah. So I think the well, what it looked like, I think from this person at least, I think they were more worried. I don't think even think they were worried more about the yield and all that, the interest. I think they were just more worried about losing their funds, like not having access to their money anymore. Do you think that would be a possibility because of this? And so for them, I try my best not to give any advice on my videos. I just say what I'm doing, but I just said I'm keeping my money on Voyager.
Yeah.
Um, do you think? Because I mean, we see what happened with BlockFi, and it's not like people lost access to their account. It's not like people lost access to their crypto or anything like that. So I think that's what, at least what this person was scared of. Is that can that be a possibility?
Uh, Based on what's written in the cease and desist order and what's been communicated by New Jersey, that's a big fat no.
Yeah,
Um, it's New Jersey and states are running with the narrative of they're trying to protect the residents of their state, so the consumer, from these companies who are trying to make money off of them, without providing any kind of assurance or any kind of transparency. And this is the argument that the state is making. We're trying to protect our consumers. We're trying to protect the integrity of the laws of our state where we have jurisdiction. And so if they were to if they were to obligate any exchange, not only Voyager to freeze accounts or to not return the money of any case, and quote unquote, you're going to lose all your money if you leave it in Voyager, they would actually shoot themselves in the foot by requiring that and then making a statement of we're trying to protect our consumer. So
Yeah.
you're not going to lose your funds. You're not going to be even required to sell your holdings. But that's all written out in the cease and desist order, and then the communication that was released along with that. So, to anybody who's concerned that if they're holding their crypto in Voyager or any form of fiat or cryptocurrency, whether it's a stable coin or a volatile asset, you're not gonna lose that money.
So yeah, that's kind of what I tried to say also, but just without not giving any advice. But do you want to jump in and do you want to let's go over your thread? What do you think?
Yeah, that'll be fun. Let's pull up the tweet and we can kind of dissect it and kind of get into the nitty gritty of it, maybe some conspiracy theories and stuff like that. But I'm just speaking on behalf of just experience and what I've seen in the financial services, not only obviously in the crypto space, but in previous industries. The mortgage industry is a big, heavily regulated space as well. So
yeah. And by the way, I do see all the questions that we have over there. Like Will, I see your question. I see motion marketing. I see your question. Echoes from above, but personally think the situation is pretty serious, but I'm interested in hearing other perspectives. Yeah, for sure. I'll get into all the questions. We'll answer them all. But let's go ahead and let's check out the thread. Echoes from above. Yo, man, I saw your live yesterday with Strongman. So that was interesting. Let me look up your thread here, Messi, and then we'll search. So Messi. By the way, did you get any of your interest today already?
Oh yeah, all of them.
Oh, you already got everything. Nice.
No, I think I'm missing my boosters, but they always trickle in slowly. I haven't had any issues as far as my interest payments go. So yeah, I was a little scared with the whole April Fool's kind of thing, and then
right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and add it on stream there. There we go. Okay, there we go. So is this where it starts? It starts right here, right?
Yeah. So crypto interest payments.
Let me zoom in a little. Does that look a little bit better?
Yeah, that looks great actually. So if you can scroll up a little bit.
All right, right there, or
a little bit higher. Yeah, so that's where it starts.
Okay.
And then you'll have to click show this thread because it's pretty. It has a couple of them. Oh, that looks great. Yeah. So my opening statement was just kind of giving a little bit of background on myself, not to bang on my own chest, but given why my thoughts about this matter may be valid to a certain extent. So there was that. And then I kind of just give an introductory of something of what we're all aware of and probably why everybody's here kind of listening. So if you want to scroll down, we can move on. I don't know if you have any questions about the tweet, if there's anything that you liked so far. I think as we move down, there's probably better content.
Okay, for sure. So let's go ahead. I'll just go ahead and read it real fast if that's cool.
Yeah.
All right. So crypto interest payments versus state regulators from the perspective of a compliance and regulatory specialist in all 50 states for over 9 years, which is you. Most
Yeah.
of us are aware of the ongoing pains between regulation and crypto as the space continues to mature and governments try to catch up. And that's definitely what I think is going on here. Not only governments, but I think you get into it a little bit. But I think some other people are getting a little scared. Big banks.
Oh,
All right.
yeah.
But so Echoes, I saw your comment. That's what made me subscribe to you and follow you. Oh yeah, for sure, Echoes. Hey, I definitely like to talk to you about strongman personal finance. Yeah, that guy's something. But yeah, go for it. Let's go on to this one here. We have seen several states take an offensive position towards legitimate publicly traded companies that offer interest paying products to their users. When is being reviewed by a handful of states is the interest paying products via crypto, not crypto in its entirety.
Yeah, so I do want to make a comment on that, and on that same day or around this week, the CEO of StormX, Simon, he released a kind like a tweet or a comment saying, you know, it's kind of shameful that state regulators are going after these legitimate companies who are showing efforts to be compliant with the law and with state regulators and to work with them versus, you know, bad actors in the space. And he
Mm-hmm.
actually kind of listed some and calling them out, which was kind of funny. But I kind of just, you know, second his you know, his motion on that, because you know, Voyager and the other exchanges as well, you know, they partner with uh, legitimate companies who are licensed in their specific areas, such as CoinFi or LGO. You know, they've onboarded, you know, the crypto tax um, .com or whatever it is to be able to be compliant with that. They set up KYC. They've gotten their money transmitter licenses. So they're, you know, they're a growing company. They're making an honest effort to be compliant in any arena that requires them to, you know, submit to regulation or to taxes and anything like that. So I think that also goes a long way. And so for the states to kind of just make this list of, you know, very profitable um, you know, crypto exchanges and to kind of just go at them first versus focusing on these bad actors is kind of shameful, and it's unfortunate um, because they could probably be using their time more wisely to protect their the consumer and their residents instead of
Yeah.
going after. Yeah, so that was my thought on that first one.
Yeah, so for sure, it's a little bit talking more a little bit of bad actors. So I think a lot of people aren't aware of how yield is created, right? So how crypto how for example some crypto companies can pay high huge yields. It's because they're doing some things that probably are a little sketchy and not the safest thing with your money. Whereas Voyager is doing some very well, I wouldn't well, it's say a lot safer stuff than what other companies are paying. For example, you see other companies like if you look at what they can do in Europe, some of the yields that they you can get over there is insane, and you're just looking at it like what how is this even possible, right? But when you really look at how some of the yields are created, it's not the safest way. It's not the safest way, right? Whereas with Voyager, I think like what you were saying, you know, they're really following regulation and trying to be as safe as possible, and yet they're still being attacked. So it's kind of a bummer.
Yeah,
Yeah. Should we go on to the next one here?
yeah, we can keep moving on.
All right, so it now appears that we are past the banning or what is it phase, and we are now in the how can we profit from this phase. During this time, government officials look to pause activity within their state regarding whatever item is in question, in this case, crypto interest. Man, and I love it, crypto interest. And, you know, I understand. I feel like, at least for myself, like I don't need the government to step in and come in, you know, like try to protect me, at least in my scenario. I know that Voyager is loaning out my money, but they're doing it in a safe way. You know, they're showing us the reports, and you see exactly what's going on. like I don't really need the government to step in for me. I know that this is happening, and so I know that that's how I am getting this interest. And the cool thing that I also like about Voyager is that if you're not okay with that, you can easily select opt out of the interest program, and there you go. Your funds are just sitting there.
Yeah, yeah, and one thing I wanted to make clear, because I was, participant of a couple of spaces where individuals had questions, and we were kind of talking about it, and you make, a lot of the community members made valid points where, you participate in casinos and in lotteries, in sports betting, in um, even student loans at a young age before you have any kind of.
Well, you can get a credit card that, that you could max out at what, 18? It. I don't know.
Yeah, and so when you try to look and try to understand what they're giving priority to, and words and actions kind of don't match up across the board, it's kind of difficult to um, not think about what underlying factors are there, and purposes. And the other thing I wanted to mention is, it's really important to focus on that it's not crypto um, in its entirety that's being attacked here. It's just those interest earning programs, and the cease and desist order is very specific about it. So it's not like Voyager is going to have to stop, um, you know, stop you from buying and selling the crypto assets if that's something that you like. I mean, people still want to speculate on the price. People still want to invest in safer assets that they consider, after doing their own research. Um, and
It can be. I mean, crypto interest is honestly, I think it's like revolutionary. I don't think a lot of people talk about how important it is, but if you use crypto interest in a good manner, I mean, it can change your finances completely. I mean, for example, let's look at Bitcoin here, and let's just say, and Voyager doesn't even offer, let's say, a high interest on Bitcoin. What is it now, like 4 point something? Do you know what it is? It's like 4%, right?
this is for Coinbase.
Here, Voyager.
Voyager, yeah. So for the base, yeah, the base interest boost for Bitcoin right now, I think is 4.05%.
Okay, so it's not even that high, right? But if I think this is where that point of it can be very threatful to the average, for traditional finances, where you have something like Bitcoin that has been growing exponentially over the past years, and on top of that, you can be earning 4% interest. Or you can, with that same money, let's say you want to get somewhere else. Where can you get a 4% yield? Where you think about like dividend stocks, something that offers a 4% yield might be, I think, like Coca-Cola or something like that. But you don't get that exponential growth. So like, why? I mean, at what point? Why would someone? I know you, maybe for safety and whatnot, but anyways, like let's think of a regular investor. Why would you, if you want to get a lot of growth and interest and that yield, you could go for something like Coca-Cola, or you could go for something like Bitcoin that has been growing exponentially over the past years. And so I think that's where it can be very threatful to not only, the banking system, but to like traditional finance. It's revolutionary, so I could see how it can be quite scary.
Yeah, and to focus more on the crypto interest portion of it is kind of what the states are looking at. So like I was saying before, it's not so much the main service or product that Voyager provides, which is buying and selling crypto. I think every other product that they provide is kind of secondary to that. Their main thing is, being a broker for crypto assets. So the debit card is not in threat here. The buying and selling of cryptos is not in threat here. The only thing that is being looked at is the Voyager Earn program, or quote unquote interest, crypto interest that we get paid on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
So
So what do you think can be like the worst case scenario here for crypto interest? Do you think it just gets dropped, let's say chopped by like more than half? Like, what are you thinking here?
All right. So now that you asked, I'll go ahead and look at the cease and desist order. because I want to go straight to the source because they're very clear about that. Um, so if anybody wants to pull it up on their end, you can find it on the newjersey.gov/OAG, which
I
is
can, should I go
yeah,
ahead and try to look it up here?
yeah. So if you Google it,
You said
you can,
New Jersey.
if you Google it, just put cease and desist order Voyager, and it will pop up. There'll be some articles, some news articles that'll pop up first.
Okay.
Um, but if you look at there should be one that
Is
says,
it this one here?
yep,
NJ.gov?
yep, that one's it.
Let's load this one up.
And so right at the top of that paragraph, you'll see view summary of cease and desist order, and that'll pull up the PDF for
Okay.
it. And then on that previous website is kind of the communication that they sent along with the cease and desist order.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you scroll down to page 13 of the order, there's a conclusion.
Got it.
So there on the conclusion, you can actually read what dates they're looking for this order to become effective and what they're kind of looking for. So I'll kind of read through it, and then it'll probably provide the answer that we're looking for. So effective on April 29th, 2022. So at the end of this month.
Real quick, that's my birthday. What a birthday gift.
Yeah, happy birthday. So Voyager and basically anybody related to Voyager, whether any person, agent, employee, broker, partner, officer, director, affiliate, successor, stockholder, under the direction of control shall cease and desist for three things. One, you'll cease and desist offering for the sale any security, including Voyager Earn Program account, to or from New Jersey, unless the security is registered with the Bureau, is a covered security, or is exempt from registration under security laws. So they have to cease and desist the ongoing sale of the program. Unless they register with the state as they register the Voyager Earn program as a security, or they somehow provide enough explanation to the state to convince them that they are exempt from the registration, which I'll touch a little bit on later. They'll have to cease and desist on number two, accepting any additional assets into an existing Voyager Earn program account. So kind of what we saw with Nexo and BlockFi. Number three, they'll have to cease and desist violating any other provisions of the security laws and any other rules. So they can't break any more rules regarding the security laws in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Another point is nothing in this order. So this is kind of answering back, will I lose all my money? Nothing in this order shall preclude Voyager from paying interest, also known as rewards, on existing Voyager Earn program accounts. So they are going to be able to continue paying out the interest on existing accounts, or refunding principal to Earn program account investors consistent with Voyager terms. So at this point, you try to be unbiased when it comes to these kind of things, because when it comes to interpreting law and applying it to certain spaces, especially if they're new spaces, it can get really gray, and everybody can have their own interpretation. And this is why outside counsel and when attorneys come into play, they charge like $500, $800 an hour to be able to give their thoughts. They refer to case law, which is like something very important in the legal world, because if some judge or some regulatory agency made a decision on this before, whether it's in your state or another state, they kind of refer back to that case law, because you try to stay consistent when making certain decisions in the regulatory world and in the justice system, as possible. So that's actually a positive right there. They'll continue to pay the rewards on existing Voyager Earn program accounts.
Okay. So
And
that's very. So I think that's very important there for anyone that's like maybe in New Jersey, right? And they're thinking, "Wow, I'm not going to get any more interest." But pretty much what this is saying is that they will continue paying interest on the assets that they hold as of now, right?
exactly, any existing
Okay.
Voyager own program. So
Anything
I don't
else
know.
that is added? No.
Yeah,
Got it.
based on this communication, but we still have to wait what happens with Steve and the legal team and his his outside counsel or in-house counsel that he's using, along with maybe Brian Brooks' role. I think he was intentionally brought in to kind of help guide and provide some form of guidance in matters like these. I mean, he was the chief legal officer for Coinbase. He was the CEO for Binance.us. He was the U.S. Comptroller, director of the U.S. Comptroller. So he has experience in this area, and Steve has extensive experience in this security. So for me, if anyone knows what a security is and what it's not, it's Steve. Um, but it's just really um, interesting because there has been dialogue with the state since August. So there's been some ongoing conversation until it got to this point. What I don't know is will those interest rewards, if that cutoff date was since the release of the cease and desist order or the date that it takes effect. So you might not get if you put in new money now between now and January, you might not get the interest payments for those new funds that you provide, and then that's also going to provide some form of background headache for the team over at
Yeah.
Voyager because now you're going to have to differentiate between what was there before and what wasn't there, and if you have to backdate it, it can get kind of messy. But my train of thought is um, Voyager and all the exchanges in reality, they were expecting this. This is not something new. They prepared for this. And I think the hiring of Brian Brooks to Voyager was strategically done because of the expectation um, of the states coming after that, um, coming after them for these earn programs or any other services. Once lending comes out, that'll be something else that has to be looked at. Once they start offering stocks, that'll be something else that will probably come into question. Um, but yeah, so that conclusion portion kind of gives you um, kind of what they're looking for. They want Voyager to register. I think that's what they're looking for, or to provide some sort of rebuttal saying, hey, we're exempt from this. Um, and I think that's what they're kind of working on right now because the statement that Voyager released was, hey, um, we need further clarification on what these orders mean, what you're trying to say um, with this, etc. Um, and there's certain time frames that they have to respond by. So once they get the order or the notice, they have 15 days to respond. After the state receives the order, they have 5 days to um, provide some form of communication, and then after that, depending on what direction they want to go or what decisions are made, it can either extend for a longer period of time, kind of what we see with Ripple and the SEC, where it's just like ongoing litigation, which for me that's kind of worst case scenario. Um, yeah, because that's just gonna take it's gonna slow everything down and it's gonna be painful and long, and very costly. I mean, the legal process is extremely expensive, and I think that's why you'll see um, that's why you'll see these exchanges just prefer to pay the $100 million and call it, because if you go through the legal process and you don't win, not only do you have to pay the $100 million in the fine, quote unquote, and we don't know what the amount is going to be for Voyager. We're just quoting case law of basically what happened before um,
So
to see.
how much was it for BlockFi? They charged them how much? Do
It
you
was a
remember?
hundred. Yeah, it's 100 million.
100 million.
A
Got
hundred
it.
million fines. Yep.
So if it's something like that, I think from their last reports, Voyager has some free cash flow that they could use. So just in case if it does come out to that, right? Uh, but anyways,
Yeah, and sometimes when these fines are this huge, they're paid over a certain amount of time. Um, you know, it's
yeah,
not just one huge lump sum unless the company can provide the huge lump sum, but usually it's something that's paid out over a certain period of time.
yeah. So now if they do decide, let's say we just don't want to deal with this and we just kind of want this to end, we're just gonna pay off, or we're just gonna pay the whatever. Then that would mean that they would have to register as a security, and then they would follow their regulation, the regulation of a security, correct?
That's correct. So at
And
that point, yeah, at
yeah,
that when you accept to pay the settlement, at that point you're accepting the terms from the order, and then you have to kind of um, follow the rest of what the order says. So they would have to register the Voyager Earn program as a security in that state. But for me, that's kind of it's a really tricky chess game, because at that point, if you do that, um, then the other states who are like-minded or have the same stance as New Jersey and Alabama, they're going to come after you as well.
yeah.
You know? And so, yeah, go ahead.
I think Atrax is on here, and he said something here. Let me remove this real fast. So
Yeah.
Atrax said, Kentucky and Oklahoma don't get rewards this month of April. That's interesting. So, do you, huh, Steve? Huh, I don't know much about that. Do you know anything about that? Kentucky, Oklahoma don't get their
No,
rewards. I haven't heard anything
no,
about that.
no,
I
I
think,
haven't. Yeah, I haven't heard anything so far.
yeah, isn't DJ in Oklahoma? DJ Crypto? I'd have to ask him. He'd probably know a little bit more. I'm pretty sure he's in Oklahoma. I'm not correct. I'll ask him, and maybe he knows a little bit more. But let's jump back to your to the thread over here.
Yeah, and based on what you're seeing there with that statement, if he's right in what he's saying, you're going to see the variations and approaches of what the states apply to these exchanges. Every state is going to take a different stance, um, and apply things differently. So just because something happens with with New Jersey doesn't mean that it's going to happen with every other state after that. There's just a good likelihood that states who have the same way of thinking as as we're seeing New Jersey or Alabama have, some of other states will follow along. Currently it's 6 or 7, but I wouldn't be surprised if that number increased by another 6 or 7 states.
Yeah,
And the requirements are gonna differ. So some of them might say, hey, you can't pay any more rewards. Some of them might say you can continue to pay rewards, but not new accounts, and you know it'll differ state by state.
So Atrax, yeah. So wow, Atrax just said right now they just put it out on their Twitter when they updated their rewards for the month of April. So we're gonna have to. I'll probably do a little researching right now, probably towards the end. But let you want to go on to the next point here. A couple points.
Yeah.
As to,
So
all
yeah.
right, so I'll go ahead and read it. A couple points as to why this is happening and why it does not concern me for companies like Voyager in the long run. The intentions of these states are clear and repetitive. Don't be fooled by their statements of protecting the consumer and integrity of the state.
Yeah.
So I think that's another point. I really like that, and it's very tough to really look at the government and think that they actually are protecting us. I know that they want to create this whole narrative of, hey, we're trying to protect you and whatnot, but I don't need it. Like I said earlier, I'm a responsible investor, and I keep up with the financials that Voyager puts up every single month. And I mean, not every single month, every single quarter. And if at a time I notice that, hey, things are not going so well for Voyager, then I would make the responsible choice and probably leave Voyager. That would be the responsible choice, and I would have to be looking out for myself. That's what I would do. But right now they're doing great. they're growing as a company. They're doing fine. Their growth is exponential. We saw that they now have 1.5 million, people on board, funded accounts. They're growing. It's a healthy company, and so I feel comfortable uh, with my funds there. I don't need protecting from the government. So when they come out with this, we're protecting you. I'm like, are you really? Because if so, like, why aren't you protecting people from big banks? Big banks are the ones that are, they're literally lending out the people's money, and they're not giving anything for the people. So that it really, it has a really sour taste to me where they come out and say we're protecting you. I mean, are you really protecting us? Like, come on, let's be real.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Um, yeah. So yeah, I mean, so this is kind of just like an ongoing story. We've seen it before. They're doing it again. Um, and you could kind of see the writing on the wall that this was going to be what they obviously do again. The state intentions here are pretty clear. Where what they're trying to do is create a long-term stream of revenue by obligating these profitable crypto companies, a new technology, to um, fall under their umbrella and their jurisdiction, where they can require them to licensing fees, audits, examinations, um, reportings, whether it be quarterly or annual, and then
all that
then
stuff is money for the government. Like all the things that you just mentioned, like it's all money for the government. Even like small businesses, getting audited can ruin a small business. If a small business, does something wrong and they get audited, it can bankrupt them. And so, for it all seems like it's just, they call it a money grab. It just seems like a way for the government to be able to grab money from these profitable companies. But
yeah, these regulatory bodies need to find ways to, uh, you know, provide or create a stream or a cash flow. And what better way of doing that than you know getting these extremely profitable companies to kind of just be obligated um, under your rules. And my biggest concern is not so much the fees that will come along, because they'll probably be minimal. Um, but it's my concern is the limitations that come after that. Because now um, you are subject to their regulations, their rules, the interpretations that they provide. And if at any point you try to grow the business or expand it and provide certain services, they can limit you now from doing that. And if you don't, they'll fine you. And if they could, potentially have other civil penalties against, you know, uh, participants of Voyager. So it gets it's it gets kind of difficult um, to innovate, to be creative, to provide extremely attractive services when you have
yeah,
someone kind of breathing down your neck and trying to use the excuse of we're trying to protect our people, um,
yeah, agreed.
but limit you. And I think that's going to be the biggest thing.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing that does kind of scare me, and so I understand that the fight, if they decide to fight this, it might be a long process, but it can be, if Voyager, like one thing that I said in my video is like that they've given us the consumer this narrative that they've done everything correct and they are doing everything correct, and I want to believe that they are, and so this is the negative is like, yeah, I don't want them to go through this, but the positive is, all right, well, now let's see if this is correct. Like, let's see if we were actually, if it's true, and if it is, like, imagine how great it's going to be for Voyager as a company if they come out successful, where companies like BlockFi will just decided to pay off, and say whatever, we're done, um, and Voyager comes out successful. Like, how much confidence is that going to give, us, first off, the investors, but people that might have been in the sidelines, like looking at Voyager and be like, this is their time, And I don't know. So they obviously it's a negative, but I also want to see the positives in this. Whereas, yeah, this was going to come eventually. We all knew it was going to come, and here it is. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know. All right. Should we roll down to this one? Because I think we talked about this one here, right?
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. Generate new cash exactly. Flow into the via exactly. This one here. Have we talked about this one? Let's go ahead and read. I do not believe that every state regulator is malicious in nature, but are bound by the law. Laws that are outdated, intentionally broad, and carefully written past to be used for specific outcomes that benefit whomever is in control, driven mainly by greed and fear. Yeah, I agree there too completely. I mean, when I was reading this, I was like, that's exactly what I had in my head. You just have a better way of saying it. You got a way with words, man. You're,
Thanks.
you're, you're like a poet. You're a poet with words.
I appreciate that. Thanks.
Yeah. Those
Yeah.
are pretty good. Hey, man, I didn't like these. What is going on here? I didn't like these, man. Wait up. Give me a second.
As long as you like the beginning, it's all good. I think it's
Yeah.
it's a pretty long read.
Yeah. Sometimes
Um,
I forget.
yeah.
So let's go on to this next one here. This has happened before. First, I got to like it. All right. This has happened before. States are not looking to shut down companies like Voyager. Their goal is to make money off these companies and limit their products in order to maintain control where they have jurisdiction, not something new in the financial space. Yeah. So I think we got into that for sure.
Yeah.
We all can agree that some form of regulation is needed in order for the space to grow. This kind of manipulative regulation that hurts the majority to save the few and keep control is exactly what we don't need, but completely expected and unfortunately likely to succeed. I think this is so true here. I think this is where I was like, "Yep, you said it." Like this is definitely we see that us. I like to call myself and mostly a lot of we're just like regular day people, and we see a way that we can finally generate some passive income. And finally, the banks are already loaning out our monies, but they're not giving any they're not giving us anything back, right, in return. Whereas with Voyager, yeah, they're loaning out our money, but they're giving us the majority of it. The majority of their profits they're giving back to us, and we can see that through their financial reports. We actually see that at times they're giving us some of their profits back to us. So it's like we finally have a company that I feel is doing correct for the people, and yet this happens here. Like the state comes in to save. Well, they are here to save some, but it's the few. It's the people that are full of money already and don't need anymore. So like you said over here, greed. You said over here, greed and fear is really what's being driven here. And I think even DJ mentioned it in his video. The main one that spearheaded this is I think he had a background in banking. I'm not sure if you saw his video, but he mentioned that the person that's spearheading this whole New Jersey whatever, forgot what his name was. It was in one of the articles, but it seems to be some banker guy. So I don't know. It seems a little iffy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So the purpose of this thread is to shine some light and perspective on what's really going on. States are looking to make more money, and what better way to do that than obligate profitable to register and obtain a license under your jurisdiction? I think we're pretty much done here. I think. Should we go ahead and start answering some questions?
Yeah.
And if you,
I
if
do
you
I do want to finish off that last thought though.
okay, where
Um,
I'll just go ahead and finish reading it all, and
yeah.
then tell me where you want to stop.
Yeah.
A form of mandatory ruling for any entrepreneur or company to submit to via laws that do not protect consumers. There is no democracy in this process. There is only legal penalties and fees if you do not play by their rules. That is so true there. True, true, true. A fake attempt to allow the company to defend themselves is just for show, as these have already made up their mind. There is no discussion, no vote, no consideration, just fluff till the inevitable happens. In this case, the most outlikely income is these companies register as securities, lower their interest prog, pay a fine, and continue to do business in a state that they are subjected to an indefinite amount of time of fees, examinations, reporting requirements, etc. aka a new stream of income for the state forever.
Yep.
Good. Yeah. Do you want to stop there and talk about that, or should I go ahead and?
No, and the last point, that's there as well.
All right. Crypto's not going to die. Voyager's not going to die, and you are not going to die.
Yeah.
There is more to be said and expanded on regarding this topic, but the point of this thread has been accomplished. So I will leave it at that. I welcome questions, criticism, educate, and education. Hashtag VGX Heroes.
There we go.
There we go, man.
Yeah, so I mean, you can clearly see one, and just to kind of conclude with that thread, basing this all off the communication that the state released is, one, they already made up their mind. They already had the dialogue back and forth with Voyager since August. They've received, they received the answers from Voyager, and they've come to their conclusion and what they want to see. And you can see that on page 13 of the cease and desist order.
Yeah.
And so that's written out pretty clear what their expectations are. If they don't, decide to, do A, B, and C that's listed there, then they will have to cease and desist, which is mean stop everything. And it's going to be really interesting. I did see the tweet that that Voyager released with the Oklahoma and Kentucky.
Yeah, I saw that too. Let me go ahead and put it up for people that haven't seen it. So this is the tweet here that Atrax was mentioning. So here it is. Let me zoom in.
Look at that. Breaking news right on your channel, bro.
Yeah, breaking news right here. Look at that. Let me actually go like it and retweet it. But grow more than so a few good things here. They're offering 8%. They're offering 12% on Kava, 8% on Kusama. So that's definitely a bump there. But then the bad news here: Voyager Earn program rewards are not available in Kentucky and Oklahoma. So I'm really do they offer more? No, this is just a picture here. So I wonder if they're going to offer more. Are they going to say whether people like in Kentucky and Oklahoma, if they will they continue to earn on the things that they had, or is it just like they're done?
Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see if Kentucky or Oklahoma released any other kind of either order or statement already to Voyager. We've mainly been focused on the New Jersey one because, like I said, they've been more vocal, along with Alabama, about this situation. And just to take an unbiased approach to the state regulators, because I made that a point in my thread on point number 2, which was I don't think all regulators have this malicious intent to just drown the little guy and only play greedy. I think there are actors out there that have that intent, and they do a pretty good job being discreet about it.
Yeah.
But actions speak louder than words, and when it's all said and done, it's pretty clear where you stand. And so it's going to be interesting. So I would want to see where Kentucky and Oklahoma, what they released, to kind of have the same feel.
Happen, right?
Yeah,
if worst comes, if this is probably the worst case scenario here for like, let's say Voyager Earn program rewards are not available. It's horrible. I mean, that's tough there, but it's not like, I think to for people to feel a little bit safer is like you're not going to lose access to your funds. Like that's never going to happen. And I did have a few people. My first one was my sister. She's like, she came up to me because I got her to get into Voyager, and she came up to me and she's like, "Do I need to sell everything?" I'm like, "No, relax. Like you're good. Like you'll have access to your stuff." And then also I got that comment on my YouTube. But this is probably here what can happen is just like you don't earn rewards, which is horrible. But man, state.
Yeah. So and kind of take this as well as a grain of salt. A lot of this could be temporary while things are figured out. I mean, if Voyager takes a route of as the other exchanges did, to just do a settlement and then register, it'll be interesting if at that point they'll be able to offer these the earn program to the states that are kind of telling them to not anymore. Um, and then at that point, see how their products are effective after that in those states. So I think they're going to continue to offer the Voyager Earn program, continue to add new tokens and more interest to those, because again, it's going to be a state by state situation until some form of federal entity, in this case the SEC, gets involved and makes some decisions um, at a federal level.
Yeah.
But even then, the states hold some autonomy on their own to be able to uh, add additional, kind of like a second layer
Yeah.
to whatever the federal um, stance is at that point. So I'm definitely going to take a look at Kentucky and Oklahoma next to see if this is going to be something where they just completely pause everything altogether, or if it's kind of just from here on out you're not going to get interest payments on new funds that you provide to the program.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do some deep diving into this here too. And according to King Christian, I'm not sure Christian if you know where you got that info from. He said it's just for new users that aren't getting the rewards, and it's just for this month. Um, so I don't know where you got that info, but if you don't mind sharing it, I wouldn't. That would be awesome. That way I can go and check out that info.
Yeah,
Um,
this
yeah,
is this is the great thing about breaking news. It's just like the information is starting to come out little by little here and there. So um,
exactly. Maybe something in the comments.
yeah, I mean, it does suck because one of Voyager's main
Oh,
attractive one of
huh.
Voyager, was it deleted?
I think it was deleted.
So one of Voyager's main attractive um, products that they have is the interest payments. But at
Nope, still here.
yeah, so at some point you also have to put it in perspective. It's like, well, if this is happening across the board into all exchanges, like there's really nowhere you're going to be able to go um, as far
Yeah,
as centralized finance, or as far as again, legitimate companies that are trying to make the effort to do the right thing and play by the rules, um, to get these attractive interest rates. And if you live in a state that doesn't allow you to do certain things, or benefit from certain products, um, then it's tough. But every state is like that, and it's always been like that, and not just in the financial services, but in different aspects of you know regulations and laws and things that you have to kind of abide by for being a
yeah,
citizen of that state,
for sure.
or a resident of that state.
Yeah. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and drop them, and we'll try our best to answer them. And if you gotta leave at any time, just let me know, Messi, and we can end it there. I don't want to
Yeah,
be having on
yeah. I
here.
think an hour, a little bit over an hour, is a pretty good close.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
you
So
know,
if you guys have any last questions, go ahead and drop them because I don't want to end the stream without answering your guys' questions. But any questions, drop them down below, and we'll try to answer them. But yeah, this was I learned a lot, Messi. It was fun. I had a good time, man. Let's see what's going on here because I'm really gonna take some time right now and really try to deep dive into what's going on with Voyager. Um, and the whole Oklahoma stuff going on. So that's going to be interesting to look into. But real fast, I know I asked you about the Champions League, man. Now I got to ask you about the World Cup. Now we have some we have some soccer teams going to the World Cup. We know who's going to the World Cup. Who do you think is going to win it? Now you guys are hearing it here live. Messi, and if you say Argentina, it's rigged, man.
there you go.
Argentina, nah. You know who's going to win it? Mexico. Yeah, right. I wish. I've always been a diehard Mexico soccer fan, but man, it just we got horrible luck. We never stand a chance.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think favorites going in are probably either France or Germany.
France or
Um,
Germany?
yeah, England has developed a pretty good team as well. They had a couple of young players, and they reached the finals of the Euros.
Yeah,
Um,
Brazil's playing really good too. They, Neymar and Vinicius, they're getting a good connection. So
yeah, Brazil's. I mean, Brazil's always up there on top. But I wouldn't. I don't. I mean, granted, it's soccer, so anything can happen. You know, a red card, a penalty, handball, whatever can change the direction of the game.
yeah,
Um, so you would never really know. Um, but yeah, you know, Brazil's always a strong team. But I think my if I had to pick a team to win it, it would probably be France. I think it's been a long time since we've had actually back to back World Cup champions. And if anybody were to do that, it would be France at this moment with
yeah,
uh with Mbappe.
Mbappe.
Yeah,
We're finally going to see Lewa in the World Cup. That's going to be interesting. But yeah, I don't think they'll get far. But hopefully he gets a few goals.
yeah,
Lewa in there. Yeah, that's going to be man. I can't wait for that. But yeah, if I had to put my if I had to drop my VGX on one single team, I think I'd have to go with you know what, like I wouldn't go Germany. I'd probably say France. I'd probably go France again. It's just like this. I think they're the powerhouse.
yeah. They got a lot of really talented and good players.
Yeah,
But I mean, you never know. I honestly thought PSG was going to be more competitive in the
yeah.
Champions League with the team that they had, and things didn't go
Out.
well for them. So
Yep, out in the round of 16. All
yeah,
right. Well, I don't think we have any last questions. I think we're all done here. Unless have any last chance. Any last questions? Nope. If not, I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna end this stream. And Messi, thank you so much for stopping by, man. It was a pleasure having you on here. And if you ever want to hop on to for any other reason, just let me know. By the way, nice setup. We had a lot of comments down saying down there saying that you had a good setup. So we
yeah,
had look at this right here. That's one hell of a setup right there. And then Diamond Hand said, "Yo, that's a lot of screens." So that's a nice setup, man. That's like my dream set. That's a good setup there. I only have two laptops. That's all I have. One here,
yeah.
one over here. That's all I got.
COVID definitely changed a lot of things for me, and so having a designated office space was really important. And given the kind of work that I do, I use this setup. It's really helpful to kind of just be productive. So
Yeah,
I enjoy it, and plus it looks really cool. So
it does look really cool.
yeah, it helps with trading as well, which
Yeah, I bet. I bet.
I'm also into a little bit. But yeah, I just want to throw out if anybody has any follow up questions, you can find me on Twitter as Messi
Yep.
dash VGX. I do welcome any additional articles, or if you do your kind of own research and you have any questions about um, anything that we talked about as far as like cease and desist orders or any kind of compliance and regulatory stuff. I'm way more than happy to um, answer questions, because it is. I mean, there's a reason why a lot of people don't do research in this. It's hard to understand. It's long. It's boring, um, and it's not always easy to find um, on their websites and stuff, because it's not like they have a great web development team to make things easy to find.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, if anybody has any
Follow up
follow up
questions.
to this stuff, because I know everybody's is there's a lot of concern, there's a lot of emotions
Yeah.
when it comes to people's money, and being able to finally have something that kind of gives you the hope of a better financial situation, which will then lead to you being able to get what we talk about a lot in our spaces um, is time back, time to be able to use for the things that you love doing, and versus just having to continuously work for what Obi calls Fed coupons.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's the most, there's a financial aspect to it, but there's also emotional and psychological aspect when you start seeing things that were helping you to come out ahead, start being kind
Taken
of
away.
Yeah,
like
taken
rip
away.
it out right in front of you, you know, and it's tough, you know, because like I understand at least for me, like this was part of my plan and using this yield and using the interest. You know, I'm not. I in the beginning when I first got into crypto, I was definitely more of a more into trades and buying here and sell. But lately, I've become more of a just hold and earn yield type of guy. And so this definitely kind of ruined if it continues. It's I might have to look back at my plan and kind of switch it around, which is going to be a big bummer. But yeah, it sucks when it's like literally being ripped out of your sight, and with the whole you know story that the government is trying to help you. It's like, are you really? Are you really? I don't buy it. But definitely follow Messi here. Awesome, awesome guy. And you hold a lot of Twitter spaces. So if you want to talk to him directly, you can. So follow him on Twitter. And if you have any questions, you could just drop into one of his Twitter spaces and you can ask him a question there and get to talk to him, get to know him. Great guy, awesome guy. Definitely follow him on Twitter. And yeah, if you have questions, you could ask him directly on a Twitter space, and he can give you his answer.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a quick shout out to all my VGX heroes. It's Friday, so get your $10 on your VGX.
That's
Um,
right. Yep.
yep. And we'll navigate through these tough times together as a community. And I just kind of want to my whole intention of putting that post out originally and joining this space with you is trying to give some clarity as to things may suck for a little bit, but Voyager is not going anywhere, crypto is not going anywhere, and as time progresses, governments catch up and things start working themselves out. Nothing is forever. So even if it takes a long time as far as laws and statutes and regulators mentalities changing, um, I think we'll be able to come out on top um,
Yeah.
as time goes on. So yep, uh, investing guy, thanks for having me on. I'll be more than happy to jump on any spaces if this thing starts going crazy and more states start releasing orders and stuff like that. I'm going to definitely do some research on that
Yeah.
Oklahoma Kentucky situation.
Hey,
So
man.
thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on, man. It was a pleasure. And I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream here. So thank you guys for hanging out, and I'll see you guys on the next one.